on, folks, and welcome back to Beans to Greens. You're tuned in to the Vivosun Grow Tent Kit series, where we are growing some autoflowers in Vivosun's 2x4 Pro Grow Tent Kit. If you're interested in it, I'm going to throw a link to the kit in the description down below. Also, I'm going to throw a link to Vivosun's website and Amazon link down in the description. So if you're interested in anything Vivosun, go ahead and check out those links. And if you decide to buy anything, make sure you use my promo code BEANS2GREENS at checkout, and that will save you 15%. Also, it helps out the channel. Welcome back to all of the subscribers, and if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscription button, and you're also turning on the notifications by hitting the notification bell. And please give me a thumbs up, like the video, it helps out tremendously, and drop me a comment down below. I always love to know what you guys either have growing inside your gardens and or what are you smoking on. So without further ado, let's go check out these gals in the tent. All right, so here are the Bourbon Berries. These are autos again, and they are about 3 weeks into flower, maybe a little bit more. As you can tell, I need to do a slight defoliation here, and more so, we're going to be doing some lollipopping. But the buds are stacking up real nice on both these plants. You could tell that the one on the right definitely got a lot taller, whereas the one on the left is more even, just stayed a little bit smaller and squattier. We're going to do a quick top dress on them as well, really light. As you could tell, it doesn't seem like we have any signs of deficiencies. The plants are looking really healthy, but I just wanted to do a light top dress on them just to get ahead of anything potential. So like I said, light top dress, mainly compost, but show you what that looks like. And then also we'll do a quick, defoliation and more so lollipopping. All right, so we got our plant here, and now we're just going to kind of selectively go through here. And what we're really trying to achieve is we're just trying to take off some of these nodes that are lower down. We'll try and leave as much of the fan leaves as possible. They're little solar panels, but we will remove them if they're low and potentially going to touch the soil. I like to go through here and denode it, and then I have more room to work with underneath the plant for when we do our top dress. So we'll just go ahead and take off all of our small little leaves down here and any of the nodes. So something like this. Let's see here. You know what? I think we're just going to go ahead and take that off altogether. I don't think that's going to do much. So we'll go ahead and take that off. This we have kind of coming up here. We're going to go ahead and take that off completely as well. Same thing with this guy on this side of that same branch. This branch is still pretty low, so we'll go ahead and take that off completely as well. We're going to take these two little fan leaves off here just to kind of get some better airflow. And sometimes it's easy just to kind of pinch this stuff off as well. And sometimes you might have to go around it a couple times and see what makes sense. This one in here, this node is just kind of buried. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. Also, pulling some stuff off from the inside a little bit usually helps, because now you're going to get more light penetration. Some of the outer branches and things like that will get some good light penetration, especially if it's coming from, the sides of the tent will reflect in there as well. So we've got a small node in here. We'll take that out. And sometimes you just need to kind of rotate the plant to see exactly what you're working with here. So this node here, this one is pretty small. It's not even halfway up. So let's just go ahead and pull that off as well. Go ahead and take this off. This node here, we're going to pull this off. This node here, pull that off completely. This one I'm kind of on the fence about. The one that's tucked in here, we're definitely going to take that off. That's small. You know what? Let's go ahead and pull that off as well. That's probably not going to do much. On this one, take that off. Be even, take that off as well. Looks like there's a really long, thin, stretchy node here. We're just going to go ahead and take that off. But now you could start seeing the plant shaping up here. And some of these lower nodes, you know, we might keep them on, but then let's just go ahead and denode that branch a bit. So now we've just got it from here up, and that's perfectly adequate. There's a node in here that's kind of buried, so we'll go ahead and pull that off. I think I'm going to take this node off as well on that same branch. We're getting kind of stacked up in here, so I'll pull this one off. This guy, we're just going to denode a little bit, this branch going up. This already seems like it's forming some decent buds, so we'll keep that there. But this one will probably just denode this a little bit. Like that. Same with this. This is kind of just growing in. It's not going to do much. Go ahead, pull this off. And this one. Not doing much there. I think we'll pull that off too. So now this is looking already better. This one, we're good to keep it, but let's take a little bit more off here. Like that. I think the same thing with this one. I'm going to pull this off. Now we're starting to look better here. Some of this stuff we might pull off, might leave it. Do a little spin here and kind of see. There's a node in here I'd like to take off. Again, sometimes you just need to look at it a couple times to really tell what you want to keep and what you want to get out of there. Like this one, I think we'll pull that off there. And as you're doing this, you know, it's going to start allowing more penetration to other nodes inside. Take that off. You know, some of your inner branches here will now get more light penetration because your outer branches that have nodes growing into the plant, it'll kind of loosen that up, allow a bit more in there. Pull that one off, I think. This I'm kind of on the fence about pulling these two nodes off. You know what? Let's go ahead and do it. So we are doing a strong denoding here, but what this is going to do is, again, it's going to open up that canopy and it's going to allow for much greater light penetration in here, and these nodes can really do more. You know, and then some of the other things that we might do is I might like tie some of this stuff down as well. Because just because it's in here, you know, if you tie it down a little bit, you're going to then get that light penetration in there, and then some you know, some of these branches that may not have really amounted to much. If you just spread the plant out a little bit, you know, now they're going to get that more light penetration and they will start packing it on more. So I think that looks pretty good right now. This is kind of low, so I'm going to take that off. Same thing with that. That and then that. So just want to get some good airflow, air circulation around the bottom of this plant. But if you noticed, really what I did is I left all the fan leaves on, but just took the nodes off. You've seen in my other videos, that's how I like to do it. And it's worked out really, really well. You still get really nice airflow throughout here. You could still see through it pretty well, but you're still allowing all these solar panels to be, you know, of use on this plant. So I'll get set up for the top dress next. All right, so we're back here with our plant. We ended up denoding or lollipopping it. The next thing that we're going to do is top dress the plant. And again, with it looking pretty healthy, I don't want to go too crazy on this. So first thing I'm going to do is just take out the plant tag and then also the moisture meter out the back here. And I don't want to go too crazy on this plant. I don't want to overload the soil and the plant in general. So we're just going to do the rose and flower because that's more geared towards flower. It doesn't have as much nitrogen, where it has a little bit more phosphorus and potassium, and that's what the plant's craving in flower. So I'm just going to do 3 to 4 tablespoons of this. We'll go 3, put the rose and flower off to the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 2 cups of earthworm castings. I'm going to pop that in the bowl as well. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to mix this up. And you certainly don't have to. Not by any means. I like to mix it up because then I like to apply it as a top dress, like I said, on the top of the soil here. And I just feel like mixing it, I'm getting it in contact with all of this, you know, really nice, rich earthworm castings here. And so the biology in there is just going to help break this organic material down and make it plant available. And then also it's just going to help kind of spread it around the top of the soil a little bit more evenly as well. So it gives me a chance to kind of get my hands in here and make sure that there's no big clumps in the earthworm castings and whatnot. And then again, we're just going to go ahead and pop it into the surface of this soil here. So I like to just kind of take my 1 cup again, put it in here. Just makes it a little bit easier to kind of scoop in there and work with. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of spread it out evenly across the top of the soil surface in this pot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to gently kind of scratch it into the top layer of this plant. So just to make sure that it's in good contact with the feeder roots there and that we're just kind of breaking up that soil a little bit. You know, we didn't do a cover crop on this plant just because it's an auto, you know, it grows pretty quick, and I just didn't know that it would necessarily be worth doing. And the reason I bring up a cover crop is, you know, those cover crop, the small roots that are in all those little plants there, you know, it helps kind of keep that soil nice and loose, and it allows the feeder roots of the plant to access all this stuff a little bit easier. So, and also it acts as a mulch layer, a living mulch layer, so to speak. And that's really good because then it's not going to get dried out. So the next thing that we're going to do is I want to cover this with some compost. So I'm going with the Coast of Maine, and this is the crab and lobster mix. And then all that we're really trying to achieve here is this to just kind of cover the top, you know, just to have a nice little layer on the top of the soil. So that way this keeps it nice and moist. And we're adding a little bit more biology as well. You know, and the thing that you got to realize too, we'll go ahead and do maybe 5 cups in here and see how that looks. So the other thing that you got to realize too is, you know, there's going to be nutrients available for the plant in the earthworm castings as well as this compost. So, you know, the reason I bring that up is that when you're going to be feeding your plants these, you know, dry amendments, these organic inputs, you want to think about and take into consideration the compost that you're going to be adding here as well, because that's going to be adding nutrients as well. So, you know, you just don't want to overdo it. And the nice thing with organics is it is pretty forgiving. But the approach that I've, you know, learned over the years is less is more. You know, you really don't need to go as heavy as what the labels say. You know, they'll say mix 2 tablespoons per gallon, and you find out that the plant and the soil performs better with a lower amount. That's what I've seen. And you know what? It ends up helping you save money over time as well. So, you know, why not? The nice thing is you could always add more later. Yeah, it does take some time to break down, but again, I think the effects of having too much rather than too little is, you know, probably worse. So go ahead and pop this over to the side now. And then the last thing that we're going to do is I'm going to put my soil moisture meter back into this plant here and my plant tag so I don't forget what it is. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we do want to create a mulch layer. So over here I actually have some straw, and then what we're going to do is just take this and we're just going to cover up that that compost that we just put in there as well. And again, this is going to help it stay nice and moist, keep that biology alive, kicking, happy, and all of it. And this mulch, you know, this is just organic straw. It's nothing special. And this is eventually going to break down and add carbon to the soil as well. So that's good. But just having this this layer here of the mulch is crucial. It helps out a lot for sure. Really, when you're growing organics, that's your main concern, is keeping the soil healthy. Everything that we're doing is for the soil. You know, it's not necessarily for the plant. Like, yeah, in the end it's for the plant, but we're trying to make the soil happy. If the soil's happy, the plant will be happy because it's going to feed that plant. So that's the name of the game. All right, so now that we got a nice layer of mulch, we're going to pop this back into the tent, and then we're going to water these gals up. One thing I like to do is after I do a top dress like this, I like to do a watering with either some molasses or some coconut in the water, just to, you know, add some sugars to the soil, feed the microbes, help them, you know, really multiply and colonate inside here, and just break down that material even faster. The other thing you could do, sometimes I'll do this, is I'll brew a compost tea the day before and then feed the compost tea to it right afterwards, just adding a ton of microbes and beneficial bacteria into the soil. Again, just to do the same thing, break down all that organic material. So, all right, I'll pop this back in the tent and then I'll show you watering in. All right, so here we are back in the tent. I have moved some branches around, just kind of tied them. And what that's doing is it's just kind of spreading out all the tops on the top of the plant, allowing, you know, deeper light penetration down to all of these buds. Other thing that I've done is I slid the tent poles down, and what that's doing is it's down around the plants now. And my hope is that it's going to push the tent out and allow reflective light to kind of go around the plant and then reflect it back at these lower nodes, these lower bud sites. As you could tell from some of these leaves, it's definitely working. You could see them kind of glowing. So they're getting a hell of a lot more light than they normally would be. But yeah, you could see how I kind of cleaned this one up versus this one. You know, similar things. This plant was just a little bit more bushy, had a little bit more leaves on it. The other thing that I did is, you know, I took any big fan leaves off that were blocking bud sites, just to allow, again, you know, deeper penetration of the light itself. So it's interesting, the terpene profiles I'm getting off of these two plants. This one here on the right is much more sweet and candy-like, whereas this one on the left is much more dank, and it is like piney. So it's very interesting, just the different terpene profiles off of both these phenos. So, and you could tell this one's, you know, a lot taller than this one as well. So just some, you know, some differences that I'm noticing. As far as you know, the grow room conditions inside this tent, I'm keeping the temperature in the high 70s as of right now, and then the humidity is mid 60s right now, and I'm going to slowly ramp that down and also drop down the temperature as well. These plants are starting to smell a little bit, so I do have the carbon filter on, and I'm keeping the exhaust fan on speed 1, just to have, you know, some negative pressure inside this tent, and that way we don't get any smell. But then it's triggered at a high humidity setting and or high temperature setting. So that's how I've been controlling the humidity and the heat inside the tent. The humidity is just, you know, just the plants transpiring is doing the trick. I haven't had to have a humidifier or anything in here, so it's working out really, really well. All right, cool. Well, I will see y'all on the next update.